Hello and welcome back to another episode of Into the 99 podcast. We've got 99 cards because Commander's number one. I am one of your hosts, Daniel. I'm joined today with Slothy. Slothy, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing quite well, thanks. Enjoying this nice long weekend. How are you doing?
I'm doing well and also enjoying the long weekend. It's been a busy few weeks and stuff. It's never seems to slow down, but happy to have some time off. So hopefully everyone's getting some time with the family. I don't know out in America if there is a long weekend there as well or everywhere else. Just I know that in Canada we have one, so we are celebrating it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Today we are talking Commander again from Baldur's Gate. I love the set. It's very, very exciting to me. But tell us a little bit about the deck and about like the build style. You were saying this isn't something you normally build.
Yeah, no, this is actually the kind of the first landfall deck that I've built. The Commander's Nine-Fingers Keene, which is one black, green, blue. Deals a lot with gates. If you control 9 or more of them, you can put a bunch of cards in your hand. So I went kind of a Maze's End theme with this, as well as trying to get some infinite landfall triggers.
Yeah, what's really cool about Baldur's Gate is they gave us more guild gates, and Maze's End has been like a favorite win con for a while.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's still not going to be a replacement for Golos.
No, not at all.
But it's got a lot of like cool stuff you can do with it. Now you're able to do. Now you can hit Maze's End in 3 colors, 4 colors. Like so, Omnoth can now be a Gates commander, and Nine-Fingers Keene, even 3-color Omnoth can be a Gates commander.
Yeah, it's really nice that since they took away probably the best land commander they've ever printed and haven't given us a new one yet.
Yeah, Golos is the man.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so let's jump right into this list because actually I did want to. We were talking a little bit right before. So Nine-Fingers Keene is actually Estelle Keene from Baldur's Gate. So for anyone who knows the Baldur's Gate lore, she's a pretty interesting character. She's the guild leader that operates during the 15th century in Baldur's Gate. But she has like a really, really cool piece of lore that I wanted to talk about when we were just checking it. And her history is this. When Estelle was only 5 years old, she was kidnapped by a one-eyed elf in an effort to extort her family. He proceeded to slice off her left pinky, I cannot read, and sent it along with a ransom letter to her parents. While the Keenes were able to borrow money in order to bring their daughter home, she never forgot the abductor or his distinct appearance. During her early career as a guild thief, Nine-Fingers encountered the one-eyed elf in a pipe den where he was smoking sable moonflower, like a hallucinogenic kind of thing. She claimed her revenge twofold. To begin with, she cut out his remaining eye along with all of his fingers, except for the pinky on each hand. Beyond that violence, however, she proceeded to purchase the entire establishment for where he went for his addiction to ensure that he would never have enough food, drink, and sable moonflower, again that hallucinogen, for the rest of his years, knowing full well, as one of the fair folk, he would outlive her. Nine-Fingers arranged for dosages of moonflower to be spiked with dried yolk of cockatrice eggs, so that his drug-induced dreams would instead be horrific nightmares. Like, she's a badass character.
Yeah, she's hardcore.
Yeah, like you don't want to cross her, yeah. Then after establishing herself as the leader of the guild, she established relationships with a lot of powerful families and also the minor families. So she really, really got in close with everyone in Baldur's Gate. But I just think that that's like a really, really cool lore background for someone. Like, this little girl is abducted and she is able to turn it around, take her revenge, rise to the crime lord of Baldur's Gate.
Yeah, she's definitely a really cool character.
Lore-wise, she's super cool. And then, like I said, command card, I love Landfall. I love everything to do with it, so I'm very happy to see how you went with this.
Well, yeah, let's get into it then.
Yeah, where do you want to start?
Let's start with the lands.
Okay.
So got Baldur's Gate. Tap to add colorless, tap 2 and tap to add X of any color, where X is the number of other gates you control.
Yeah, it's kind of like Nykthos for gates, like devotion to gates.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty cool. I like that card a lot.
Yeah. Then we got Basilisk Gate, also taps for colorless, 2 and tap it, target creature gets +X/+X, where X is the number of gates you control, activate only as a sorcery.
Yep.
Black Gate, taps for black, 1 other color.
Yeah, I really liked that they put the new ones kind of like the Thriving Lands, because I love the Thriving Lands. So they just made the Thriving Lands as a gate. I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, I really like that.
You have a command tower, because that's great.
Of course.
You also have the Karoo lands. You've got your Dimir Aqueduct when it enters tapped. When it enters, you return a land you control to its owner's hand. That's just a great card in any landfall deck to be able to consistently get your triggers off repeatedly.
Yeah. Dimir Guildgate enters tapped. Taps for blue or black.
Mm-hmm. You have Gateway Plaza, another one of the not guild gates. It enters tapped. You sack it unless you pay 1, and it taps for any color.
Yeah.
Also, you got Golgari Guildgate. Enters tapped. So at the end, we'll count. I'm sure you've got 10 gates, though, right?
I think there was 12 in total.
Yeah. We've got the Gone Gate. I really like this one. Gates you control enter untapped. You tap to add a colorless, or you tap to add 1 mana of any color a gate you control could produce. This is a great land, especially for like budget land bases.
Absolutely. A lot of players are going to be playing with gates if they're, like you said, more budget. So this will just help them kind of get going.
Well, this also starts to like make like 5 colors a little more affordable, right? Because the guild gates, like there's I think now like 20 of them or something. There's a fair amount, and just being able to fetch this out, you've got like pseudo duels that way. Like they're a little harder to fetch, right? There's still lots of stuff that fetches gates, but just the fact that you can anything that's letting these cheaper lands come into play on tap, I really like as a piece.
Yeah, absolutely. Then we got Heap Gate. Taps for colorless, so you can tap 1 and tap it to add 1 of any color, or tap 1 and tap it to tap an untapped gate you control and create a treasure token.
Yep. We've got Manor Gate, which is the green thriving one, so you choose a color other than green, it taps for that color. Let's skip the end and we'll go over that at the last part.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, you've got Rogue's Passage as well. Any commander that you want to hit, I think, needs a Rogue's Passage.
Without a doubt. And they're not hard to find, so...
Yeah. Another card above it, I skipped over it because usually it's not as relevant, but it's a Reliquary Tower, and with Nine-Finger Keene's ability, you actually can really fill your hand up a lot.
Yeah, definitely. We got Seagate, the blue Thrive Gate. Then we got Simic Guild Gate, which is tap green and blue, enters tapped.
Yeah. You've got your Thespian Stage to double up. Your enters, taps for colorless, or 2 and a tap, becomes a copy of target land, except it has this ability.
Yeah.
And then you've got the Triumph. Oh, yeah, the Zagoth Triumph, for anyone who doesn't know. Swamp Forest Island. Number 1, I got to say right out the gates, you're missing Field of the Dead in here.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, you simply must have a Field of the Dead with so many. That's, it's just almost a must. Like, I already see where this is going, and a Field of the Dead is just going to go silly. I love, like, the gate themes in general, so, like, I'm really excited to see, like, what way you went with it, because the gates are some of my favorite ways to win in Magic. I love to teach people playing with deck themed, like a guild gate themed deck. And talking is hard because it shows players to look for other win conditions, right? A secondary backup kind of win condition, and it really gets around a lot of locks. We all play with a lot of like kind of stacksy players. It's very hard to interact with the Maze's End win. You can stifle it, but that doesn't really deal with Maze's End. Yeah, that just makes it so I just play it again.
Yeah, it's very difficult to get rid of.
Yeah.
Speaking of, why don't we read Maze's End?
Yeah, I would love to take this one because Maze's End is one of my favorite cards in all of Magic. So it's a land. It enters tapped. It taps for 1 to your mana pool, or you can pay 3 and tap it. You return Maze's End to its owner's hand. So also just a phenomenal card for landfall decks because you can consistently get it back to your hand. But it's search your library for a gate card, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. If you control 10 or more gates with different names, you win the game. So that check is after the ability is activated. Somebody would have to destroy one of your gates before. You cannot do it during. Yeah, its resolution is there. Maze's End, there's nothing you can really do. Like returning Maze's End to its owner's hand and part of the cost already is going back, right? Maze's End is a very cool alternate win condition, and it really puts a clock on the game. And in these decks, you are going to become a target a lot of the time because everyone is going to constantly, how many gates do you have? How many gates do you have, right? When they start to see that you have gates, most times, you become an interest to the table. But when you drop Maze's End, then everyone knows it's business time.
Yeah, everyone knows what's going on.
Yeah, and with someone like Nine-Fingers Keene, you're going to be playing gates. The deck functions so well on it. Like, you filter through 9 cards every time it hits to look for a gate. Like, that's just really good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like your land base. More lands than I put in even my landfall decks, but I like it.
Yeah, fair enough. I did add Field of the Dead as well.
You did add it? Yes.
I added it.
Oh.
It totally slipped my mind.
There's so many especially if you don't play landfall all the time, right? There's so many fun landfall cards, and I'm power scrolling through your list, and I'm seeing a lot of them. Where do you want to go next on your list here?
Let's go to sorceries.
Okay.
So first sorcery is Circuitous Root, 3 and a green. Search your library for up to 2 basic land cards and or gate cards. Put them on battlefield tapped, and then shuffle your library.
Really, really like it. Explosive Vegetation, but for gates as well.
Yeah,
it's a really, really good card. You also have Explore, lets you play an additional land and just get a draw, which is good in both senses. You're in landfall, you've got 37 lands in the deck, it's going to happen.
We've got Explore the Underdark, 4 and a green. Search your library for up to 2 basic land cards and or gate cards, put them on the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle, and you take the initiative.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I haven't really experimented with that one yet. I haven't seen it. Yeah, we've got Farseek as well, which is solid because it's going to go fetch that Triome generally and fix our land base. 1 and a green, you can search for a plains, island, swamp, or mountain. Put it on the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. That's a great card.
Yeah. We got Life from the Loam, 1 and a green. Return up to 3 target land cards from your graveyard to your hand, and it's got Dredge 3.
This is, for everyone who doesn't know Dredge is an older mechanic. If you draw a card, instead you can basically mill 3 cards from top of your library, but it's not mill, you put 3 cards. If you do, return it from your hand, and return this card from your graveyard to your hand, otherwise you draw. So again, another card that makes Maze's End just phenomenally frustrating to deal with, right? Short of like utter ending it or somehow animating it into a creature and exiling it, right? Life from the Loam, even if you strip mine my Maze's End, I'm just gonna bring it back with Life from the Loam, and I'm gonna repeatedly do it, right? There's so many, like you have Fabled Passages, you have some of the other like ability to fetch lands. Life from the Loam is just a great card. It's seen a lot of reprints lately, which has brought it down to like still 13. Like it's still a fairly pricey piece, but it really does put in the work. It is very, very valuable in landfall decks.
Absolutely.
Oh, I really like this one too. Nylia's Intervention, X, green. You choose one. Search your library for up to X land cards, reveal them, put them into your hand, then shuffle. Or Nylia's Intervention deals twice X damage to each creature with flying.
I really like the modality of this card.
Yep.
Because this deck doesn't have a lot of flyers.
Yeah, so exactly. In a worst case, you can, and double X really blows things off the board.
Yeah, absolutely. Or you can just use it to search out all of your gates.
Yep. Speaking of searching gates, you also have Open the Gates. You search your library for a basic land or gate, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle, and that's 1 green.
Yeah. Next up is probably the most exciting card I was to put in this deck. Reshape the Earth, 6 triple green. Search your library for up to 10 land cards, put them onto the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle.
A really fun thing about Reshape the Earth is the game is over if it resolves.
Yes, exactly.
Because you will at a minimum be able to fetch 3 untapped lands. At best, you grab all your gates, but then you have the gate that makes them all enter untapped. The new gate that makes them enter untapped just really, really puts in work. Because with this, you're going to get basically everything. I think Maze's End still would enter tapped, so maybe not, but you've got other ways to untap it in the deck I've seen. It's a real problematic card to let resolve.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wish Maze's End was a gate. That'd be great. Yeah, no, Reshape the Earth is actually like a really, really fun card. I've really enjoyed playing with it. Also, if you have, again, like I said, that Field of the Dead, let's say that you were to have Field of the Dead Thespian stage out. You're going to make 20 zombies. It's gross. It's a gross card. Field of the Dead is a silly card. One of the best lands they've printed ever.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I really, really like your sorcery suite here. You've got Scapeshift as well, which is super fun to play, especially when you've got your Life from the Loam. 2 double green, sack any number of lands, search your library for up to that many land cards, put them onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. This is such a good card. Again, another thing that can't go unanswered. Like, when you're only counting to 10 gates, right, it's pretty hard. Like, even someone who's not good at math like me can hit that number.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Scapeshift is a really, really cool card, and it pairs so well with the following card.
Yeah. Following card is Splendid Reclamation, 3 and a green. Return all land cards from your graveyard to the battlefield tap.
Yep.
So you can just stack any number of lands you need to with Scapeshift. Splendid Reclamation, bring them all back.
Well, and you can already see that your deck is, even just in the sorcery section, it's got a lot of recursion for like a win con. And we also have to remember, just because I like winning with Maze's End doesn't mean that's the only way that a landfall deck wins. Like you said, you slotted in a Field of the Dead into the list right now. That's, sure, you might not win with Maze's End, but you'll hit me with 80 zombies. Okay. Ouch.
Yeah, dead is dead.
Yeah, dead is dead. Yeah, ouch. Right? It's got a lot of like, I love landfall so much. You also have Sylvan Scrying, which is 1 and a green. You search your library for a land card, reveal it, and put it in your hand, then shuffle. I don't know what you would search for. Personally, I generally go for Maze's End. I really like that card. I like to let everyone know what's going on immediately.
Oh, yeah. And the final sorcery is Tempt with Discovery, 3 and a green. It's got Tempting Offer. Search your library for a land card, put it onto the battlefield. Each opponent may search his or her library for a land card and put it onto the battlefield. For each opponent who searches the library this way, search your library for a land card, put it on the battlefield. Then each player who searches the library this way shuffles it.
One of my favorite cards in the game.
Yeah. That's a lot of words on it.
Yeah. I've said it many times. I like to politics, but I'm already going to get the card I want. You guys can join me and I can get some other things, but I'm already getting what I want. You're not going to stop me from getting what I want.
Yeah, I'm going to get the one that I'm looking for anyway.
Yeah.
So you might as well benefit as well.
I generally, I've heard people be like, oh, well, I'll just go get like a land destruction card. And I'll be like, oh, cool. I'll get Field of the Dead and Vesuva then. And we'll just see if you like your card when I start swinging zombies at you like a lunatic.
Exactly.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, okay, maybe not.
Might be a bad idea.
Yeah, Tempt with Discovery is such a great card. I really, really like your sorcery section there.
Thank you.
You want to hit these enchantments?
Sure.
You've got Aqueous Form, and I've been looking at this card since the start of it. It's a great addition to this deck. It's a 1 blue mana enchantment. Enchanted creature can't be blocked, and you get to scry 1. So essentially now you're looking at 10 cards with Nine-Finger Key. That scry 1 is just phenomenal on Nine-Fingers Keene alone. You're going to get the effect off all you want at 1 mana. Like, this is just such a good inclusion. This is a really, really cool card.
Then we've got Bear Umbra. 2 double green, enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2 and has whenever this creature attacks, you can tap all lands you control, and it's got totem armor. It's just a nice way to make sure all your gates can untap if you need the mana or stuff for your second main phase.
Well, or you can bounce Maze's End at the beginning. Like, let's say it enters tapped. You bounce Maze's End at the beginning in your main phase. You replay it as a tapped land because you've already gone to go get another tapped guild gate. Then you untap it and do it again. It's a great card, and it's got a bear on it. Who can complain?
Exactly.
You've got Burgeoning, which is such a good opening card. If you get this, and you've got, I've kept this in a 6 land hand because of how silly it can go. Yeah. Burgeoning's 1 mana. Whenever an opponent plays a land, you can put a land from your hand onto the battlefield. It's awesome.
Yeah, this card is so good early game.
This next one I love, and I never see it. I can't find it to buy it. Everyone buys them.
Why don't you take it then?
It's Court of Bounty, 2 and double green. It's when it enters, you become the Monarch. I love it. Such a good mechanic for anyone who doesn't know Monarch or needs a refresher. You draw at the end step of every time it's your turn. That's great. If anyone hits you, then they take the Monarch. So it's a great politics mechanic. It's great card draw. At the beginning of your upkeep, you can put a land from your hand onto the battlefield. That's awesome. It's what we want to do all the time. Also, if you're a Monarch, instead you can put a creature or land from your hand on the battlefield. This is a really good card.
Yeah. Then we've got Guild Summit, 2 and a blue. When it enters the battlefield, you may tap any number of untapped gates you control. Draw a card for each gate tapped this way, and whenever a gate enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's a really, really solid one. This next one is a MVP card in any deck that can have it for these colors and this theme. Please take it away, but it's so good.
This next one is Trade Routes, 1 and a blue. You can tap 1, return target land you control to its owner's hand, and you can tap 1 to discard a land card from your hand to draw a card.
That's a great card. That's not even the one I was talking about, though.
Which one were you
I was talking above it, Retreat to Coral Helm.
That's in a different section for me. What?
Oh, okay. Well, maybe not. Well, Retreat to Coral Helm is 2 and a blue. Whenever land enters under your battlefield under your control, choose 1. You can tap or untap target creature, which is super good for a lot of the stuff you have in this list that I've seen. It's really good to get a big problematic blocker out of the way as well. Or you can scry 1, which again it's the ability to look at 1/10 of your starting deck essentially every time your commander hits is crazy. Anything that increases that is just gonna nonstop go hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really, really good. You read what Nine-Finger Keene does at the beginning, right?
I think I kind of summarized it. I don't remember if I actually read the full thing.
I don't know either. I think we may have just. I'm gonna read it again, anyways. It's one black, one green, one blue. It's a human rogue 4/4. It has menace, so very hard to block. It has ward, pay 9 life, which no one is going to target this card. Like trying to path to exile this and having to pay 9 life before you even like see if it gets through. No one's paying this. Everyone's leaving this card alone once it hits the battlefield. That's a lot of life to lose to target it.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever Nine-Finger Keene deals combat damage to a player, look at the top 9 cards of your library. You can put a gate from among them onto the battlefield. Then, if you control 9 or more gates, put the rest into your hand. Otherwise, put the rest in the bottom in a random order. It is a wordy one, and I'm pretty sure now that I read it that you did read it. But regardless, the fact that you get to pick up 9 cards, look at 9 cards, and choose a gate, and then later on, if you have 9 gates, you can take 9 cards. That's a really silly ability.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. Where do you want to head to next in your list?
Let's get to the instants.
Okay.
Alrighty, so the first instant, an offer you can't refuse, single blue, counter target non-creature spell, its controller creates 2 treasure tokens.
Yeah, I really, really like this card. I think it's super undervalued.
Yeah, I'd rather give you 2 treasures than a Blightsteel.
Or a Psych Rift or something, like a 1-mana counter is great.
Yeah, absolutely.
You've also got Arcane Denial, another counter, 1 on the blue. Instant counter target spell. Its controller may draw up to 2 cards at the beginning of the next turn's upkeep. You draw a card at the next turn's upkeep. A great card, a great counter spell.
We've got Assassin's Trophy, black and green. Destroy target permanent an opponent controls. Its controller may search their library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle.
Yep.
I love this card.
Yeah. You also have Blue Sun Zenith, and I love Blue Sun Zenith. X triple blue. Target player draws X cards, shuffle it into its owner's library. Generally speaking, in a deck like this, like even looking at your sorcery section, you're ramping hard. So like you can refill your hand very easily, but you can also like force people to draw out. Like it's pretty easy to be like, I'll Blue Sun you for 30 and end the game.
Yeah, exactly.
I love Blue Sun Zenith.
Then we got counter spell, double blue, counter target spell.
Yeah, easy card to include. Ugh, gross. Crop rotation as well. As an additional cost, you sack a land, search your library for any land card, put it on the battlefield, then shuffle.
Okay.
Specifically not tapped. It enters how it enters. That's a really good card.
Yeah.
You also have Growth Spiral, which is like one of the coolest artworks.
Yeah, I really like this one.
Yeah, I loved getting this one as a promo. It's a green and a blue as an instant. You draw a card and you can put a land from your hand onto the battlefield.
Yeah.
Which is very problematic when the land is constantly Maze's End.
Yeah, exactly.
Ugh.
Then we've got negate, 1 in a blue, counter target non-creature spell.
Pull from and ending with pull from tomorrow, X double blue, draw X cards, then discard a card, which when you can pump 20 into it, no problem. The discard doesn't really matter.
Yeah, and you can discard a land and get it back.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, that's the instance.
I'm gonna hit these artifacts.
Yeah.
Yeah, number 1 is also a gate staple. It's Amulet of Vigor, a 1 mana whenever a permanent enters the battlefield tapped and under your control, you untap it. That's very, very strong.
Yeah. Then we've got Blackblade Reforged, 2 mana, legendary artifact equipment. Equip creature gets +1/+1 for each land you control it. You can equip legendary creature for 3 or equip for 7.
I said earlier that no one's targeting Nine-Fingers Keene. They may target Nine-Fingers Keene if it's wearing this. Yeah. When your commander's a 30-30 menace.
I don't think it's an issue.
It may. You got 37 lands in this deck. It's so many lands. A 41/41 potential. That's gross. You also have Crucible of Worlds, which is another super cool card. 3 mana artifact. You can play lands from your graveyard.
Yeah.
If you hit like a Terramorphic Expanse with this or something like that, like a Windswept Heath, any of your fetches, like you can just go silly with it. I love it. Or you can play Strip Mines and 5 lands a turn like an animal and wreck everyone's day. The possibilities are really endless with Crucible of Worlds.
Oh, absolutely.
I got the masterpiece Crucible of Worlds for a reason.
That's a pretty card.
Yeah, it's a gross card. I love
it. Then we've got...
Yeah, go.
Then we got Expedition Map, 1 mana. You can tap 2 and tap it to sacrifice Expedition Map, search the library for a land card, reveal it, put it in your hand, and then shuffle.
Next one's an interesting one. I've never run this in a guild deck, but it seems fun. You've got Glaive of the Guild Pact, a 2 mana equipment. Equipped creature gets 1/0 for each gate you control and has Vigilance and Menace and equip 3. That's, again, pretty strong.
Now it can be a 52-41 with
Yeah.
vigilance.
Well, yeah, just the card having vigilance alone is pretty good. That's a really good card. Navigation Orb as
Yeah.
well is another awesome card that was just reprinted. I think this was also Baldur's Gate. It's 3 mana,
Yes.
yeah, 2 and a tap. You sack it, search your library for up to 2 basic lands and/or gates, reveal them, put it onto the one onto the battlefield tapped, the other into your hand. It's like a cultivate for gates. It's got the 2 extra mana. Some people say it's a little slow. I really like its utility. I really like this card, especially as like a budget inclusion. I love this card.
Yeah. Then we've got Soul Ring. Tap for 2 colorless.
Yep.
Yeah. Then there's Stratonic Resonator. 2 mana for artifact. You can tap 2 and tap it to copy target triggered ability you control. You may choose new targets for the copy.
That's very good in a landfall deck. There's a lot of triggers. There's so many triggers. Yeah, Stratonic Resonator is such a great card. You've got Swiftfoot Boots. Equip creature has Hexproof and Haste. 1 mana. Equip. I don't think anyone's really swinging at your commander. I wouldn't protect it as much, but I see where you're at. I guess there's lots of other things in the deck to protect too.
Yeah. Then we've got Sword of the Animist. 2 mana. Legendary artifact equipment. Equip creature gets +1/+1. Whenever equip creature attacks, you may search your library for a basic land card, put it on the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle.
Yeah, it's a really, really fun art. This is like a good ramp artifact for decks that can't do it, and decks that can ramp hard just ramp really hard with it.
Yeah.
And then you have Whisper Soak Cloak, another very problematic card on your commander. 3 mana, 2 to equip. Equip creatures unblockable and has Shroud. That's going to make you very problematic.
I think it's fine.
It's not as fine as you might think. Yeah, and then let's hit your creatures, and then you've got another section we'll hit after that one.
Yeah.
So the first one is, it's AC. It's one of the pre-con commanders, and it's a really, really good card. Like a really good card. It's AC Tyrant of the Gyre Strait, 4 colorless, 1 green, 1 blue. For a 5/5 Serpent, you can play an additional land on each of your turns, and whenever a land enters under your control, you may draw a card. This is just a great card. I really like that it doesn't force you to draw, so if you've got too many cards, you're out of luck. But it's good. It's really good.
Yeah, I really like this one. Then we've got Ancient Green Warden, 4 double green for a 5/7 elemental with reach. You may play land cards from your graveyard, and if a land entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time.
You weren't on the podcast when this came out, but I've only referred to this as Land Harmonicon ever since then.
Nice.
Yeah, it's Land Harmonicon is a great card. It's very, very, very problematic. Like in any landfall deck, this is a must remove from the field. You cannot leave it alone.
Yeah.
There's too many. Yeah, it's too problematic. It is. You cannot leave this on the battlefield if they're playing anything resembling landfall. If they might have landfall, you must blow your removal on this card.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, it's so good. It's a 5/7 reach already. It gives you Crucible of Worlds effect and a Panharmonicon 4 lands. Like this is a silly card. It's a silly, silly card for silly, silly people, and I love this card. And everyone should only call it Land Harmonicon. Never call it Ancient Green One. This was another card that I really, really liked from like the last year. The Augur of Autumn. 1 double green for a 2/3 human druid. You can look at the top card at any time. You can play lands from the top of your library, and as long as you control 3 or more creatures with different powers, you can cast creatures from the top of your library. I really, really like this card.
Yeah, this one's pretty sweet. Next up, we've got Azusa, Lost But Seeking. 2 and a green for legendary human monk. You may play 2 additional lands on each of your turns.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, just play all the lands.
Yep. You also have Dryad of the Elysian Grove, 2 and a green for a Nymph 2/4. You'll play an additional land on each turn. You can, especially if you've got those like bounce lands, some of these like in decks like these, it's very common to be like, I'll bounce this land 6 times.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gross. And then lands you control are every basic land type in addition to their other types. So great color fixing.
Yeah. Then we've got Elvish Reclaimer, single green for a 1/2 elf warrior. Elvish Reclaimer gets +2/+2 as long as there are 3 or more land cards in your graveyard. You can tap 2 and tap it to sacrifice a land, search your library for a land card, put it on the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle your library.
Another card that like really, really can be a bother in a gates deck. Like every turn being able to throw away a force and get another gate is a problem.
Yeah, especially if you've got ways to play lands from the graveyard. Kind of just filter through it, get all your gates out.
I do play this next one, and I love this next card a lot. You've got your Gatebreaker Ram. It is 2 and a green for a 2/2 sheep. Gatebreaker Ram gets 1/1 for each gate you control, which again can be very problematic. And as long as you control 2 or more gates, Gatekeeper or Gatebreaker Ram has Vigilance and Trample. Like Vigilance and Trample on something that can be like a 12/12 is rough at 3 mana.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. They've got Greenside Watcher, 1 and a green for a 2/1 Elf Druid. You can tap it to untap target gate.
You know, I've never put this one in a Gates deck, but now that I'm looking at it, like the ability to like do the Baldur's Gate thing and like double untap with that would be really, really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like this card. I remember back when Return to Ravnica came out, I pulled a ton of them. Or Gatecrash, sorry, not Return to Ravnica.
Yeah. No, that's a very, very cool card. I might start putting that in decks, actually. That's pretty cool.
Nice.
This is another one that I don't even know why they printed this in the first place. It's a silly card. Gretchen Titchwillow. 1 green. Yeah, 1 green, 1 blue for a 0/4 Halfling Druid. It's 2, 1 green, 1 blue. You draw a card, and you can put a land from your hand onto the battlefield. That's a really, really good card. Like, it gives you something to sink your mana into that is also going to let you dump your lands out. I really, really like this card.
Yeah. Next up, we've got Rummin' Up Excavator. 2 and a green for a 2/3 Naga Cleric. You may play land cards from your graveyard.
I really like this card, too. I think it's very fun, always. The Crucible of World Snake.
Yeah.
This one, the one you've got coming up here, is a really, really fun card in a deck like this because, again, it sets up such a problem. People don't know what's in your hand. You can win nearly at instant speed with this. You've got your Sakura Tribe Scout. It's 1 green for a 1/1 Snake Shaman Scout. And you can tap it and you put a land from your hand onto into the battlefield. It's really, really good. You've got to... What was that, sorry?
I really like this one. I really like this one.
Well, yeah, because a lot of, like I said, everyone's going to be sitting and counting your gates the whole time you play a Gates deck, right? And it is really fun to just be like, okay, well, I'm going to end step, put three more gates into play. You go from 7 to 10. Oh, no, it's a problem. And you have your gate that makes them untapped, so you Maze's End win on the end step. I'll go to Cycrift. I will win.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I really, really like the Tribe Scout's ability to dump lands into play.
Yeah. Then we've got Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath. 1 green and a blue for a 6/6 legendary creature, Elder Giant. When it enters the battlefield, sacrifice it unless it escaped. Whenever Uro enters the battlefield or attacks, you gain 3 life and draw a card. Then you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield, and it's got escape for double green, double blue. And exile 5 other cards from your graveyard.
Yeah.
I definitely see why this one was like $70 at one point. Like, it was expensive.
Well, yeah. Basically, had it not been banned,
yeah,
like it's very good, but it's still very good for Commander. It's like a beautiful artwork.
Yeah, I really like the art on this one.
Yeah, you have Walking Atlas, which basically is Sakura Tribe Scout, but just at 2 mana, a 1/1 construct. You tap it, you can put a land from your hand onto the battlefield.
Yeah. Then we've got the final creature, Zimone Quandrix Prodigy, green and a blue for a 1/2 legendary human wizard. You can tap 1 and tap to. You may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield tapped, or you can tap 4 and tap it to draw a card. If you control 8 or more lands, draw 2 cards instead.
I really like Simone. I think it's a very cool addition card. The 2 mana, you've got a mana sink that lets you dump lands into play or draw cards. I really like.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, you've got one more section that we've got to touch on here.
Yeah. These are the landfall payoffs. And the first one is Avenger of Zendikar, 5 double green for a 5/5 elemental. When it enters the battlefield, create a 0/1 green plant creature token for each land you control, and it's got landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you may put a +1/+1 counter on each plant creature you control.
Yeah. Avenger can be a real problem.
Yeah, it gets out of hand really quickly.
I'm also very happy at its price now. Like, it was so expensive for so long.
Yeah. Well, it's been reprinted like 3 times in the last 3 years, I think.
It needed it, and it needs another one again already because I can't find them.
Yeah, fair enough.
You've got Lotus Cobra, which is just a beautiful card. It is 1 and a green for a snake creature, 2/1, and whenever a land enters under your control, add 1 mana of any color. This is a card that I like. It's always held like a good. One of my favorite times was playing like Valakut Prime Titan, and they just really need to unban Primeval Titan, grow up. But Lotus Cobra was like a staple in like that style of deck, right? Where you were like, you would swing with your Prime Titan, you'd get your 2 mana. I loved it. I love that deck. Bring it back. I also really want them to make one of the lands that makes all of your lands mountains, kind of like the Urborg and Yavimaya.
Yeah.
They have specifically said they will not do this, but I believe. In my heart, I believe.
One of these days they will.
Oh, I want it so badly. Make Valakut actually not horrible.
That's a thought.
It's so much. Everyone has 40 life. Come on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's a lot. I got to get through 120 life. Just let me have my Valakut triggers. What are we talking about?
Just play land removal. It's not that big of a issue.
Yeah, people really should play land removal, but they don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, next up we've got Nissa of Shattered Bows. 2 a black and a green for a 4 mana or 4 loyalty legendary planeswalker Nissa with landfall. Whenever land enters the battlefield under your control, put a loyalty counter on Nissa. You can +1 to untap target land you control. You may have it become a 3/3 elemental creature with haste and menace until end of turn, and it's still a land. Or you can -5, and you may put a creature card with mana value less than or equal to the number of lands you control onto the battlefield from your hand or graveyard with 2+1/+1 counters on it.
So you can get land harmonicon back, gross.
Yeah.
I really like this ability to untap Maze's End on a planeswalker.
Yeah.
That's really, really good, yeah.
Yeah.
The next one is another card that I love to kill people with. If you have this out and you hit that, what was the card I was thinking? What was the 10-man? Reshape the Earth. This is a problem. You've got Obnixilis the Fallen. It is a 3/3 demon at 3, 1 black, 1 black. Legendary, of course. It has landfall. Whenever a land enters, you may have target player lose 3 life. If you do, put 3/1/1 counters on Obnixilis the Fallen. Number 1, this card gets just super out of hand. It's a real problematic thing.
Yeah.
But even more so than that, it's the ability that it makes you lose life, not take damage, right? Damage prevent decks aren't going to stop the life drain that happens here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's a really fun card to play. Getting a good Obnixilis kill off feels nice.
Monster.
Yeah.
They got Rampaging Baloths for double green for a 6/6 beast with trample, and whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you may create a 4/4 green beast creature token.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good card. You also have Retreat to Hagra. I like all the retreat cards. It's 2 and a black for landfall enchantment. Whenever a land enters under your control, you choose one. Target creature gets 1/0 and death touch until end of turn, which is a problem. Mm-hmm. The death touch is a problem. Or each opponent loses a life and you gain a life, which is also a problem if you can dump 6 lands into play. And 6 lands a turn with Ancient Green Warden out as everyone losing 12 life, you gaining 12 life. It just becomes problematic very fast.
Oh, yeah.
Next card's gross. 2 gross.
Next one is Royal Elemental. 3 triple blue for a 3/2 elemental with flying. And whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you may gain control of target creature for as long as you control Royal Elemental. This is one of the ones that you want to protect.
Yeah, Royal Elemental is very strong. I always forget that it has flying because its effect, the flying is irrelevant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not really going to be attacking.
Yeah, this is a take everyone's creatures card and problematically take their creatures.
Mm-hmm.
The next one, as well, is a card that just gets out of hand math-wise. You've got Scoot Swarm. It's a 1/1 insect that is 2 colorless, 1 green. Whenever a land enters under your control, you create a 1/1 green insect creature token. And if you control 6 or more lands, you create a token that's a copy of Scoot Swarm instead.
It's out of hand really fast.
Well, yeah, 1 to 2 to 4 to 8 to 6. Like, it really goes off. And, like, again, it's a problem. It's a real problem. The token doubling, Scoot Swarm overruns the table very fast a lot of the time. You basically have to kill that Scoot Swarm or be holding a board wipe. Like, you can't just let it sit on the table. Killing one is irrelevant after it's started.
Exactly. And then we've got Zendikar Royal, 3 double green. Whenever for an enchantment, whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, put a 2/2 green elemental creature token onto the battlefield. Yeah.
Another great token generator.
Yeah. And that's the deck. There are ways to get infinite landfall triggers in here. All that fun stuff.
Go on.
But if you use a Retreat to Coral Helm, Sakura Tribe Skelt or Walking Atlas, and trade routes, You can bounce lands with trade routes, then tap the Scout or the Atlas to play the land again, which will untap the Scout with Coral Helm. And
Oh
then you
yeah,
can
that's
just
pretty cool.
rotate to do that, which is kind of where Retreat to Hagra comes in.
Well, or the Odd Nicholas,
or the Odd Nicholas, yeah.
Or Mega Scoot Swarms.
Yeah.
No, I really really like this deck. I think it's very cool. Like I love landfall things in general.
Yeah.
Never too many landfall things. I see you're missing Tatyova. I love that card too, but I like Tatyova as its own commander.
Tatyova was in the deck.
Yeah,
but I cut her out.
A big problem with and that's the other thing too, right? Like your instant section, you have way more counters than I like. I don't play counters when I do this because I'm like, I'm just making lands. What are we talking about, right? Mm-hmm. But like, I really really like this. Like, it is really hard to like finalize a landfall deck list because there's so many good cards to stuff in a landfall deck.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I really like decks like this. Like I said, you're a threat from basically the get go. You've got commander damage that you can whack people with. Like again, you can make this a 42/42 menace, no problem. Right? That you can't leave that on the board, and to remove it you have to pay 9 life. That's rough. Yep. You've got alternate win cons. You've got insane token generation. You've got like you have an infinite loop. Like I really really like this. This is, I was gonna say, not really a budget deck, but it's actually not even horrible cost wise. It's only pardon me, it's only around like 360 bucks, and a lot of that is going to be in your sorcery section, almost certainly. Like like 50 of it's like sorcery. Where's your big section? 83 is artifacts. So yeah, even cutting like your Crucible of Worlds is 30 bucks. Like that's like 10% of the list almost.
Yeah, cutting like Crucible of Worlds, you could cut even like if you wanted to make a more budget, Dryad of the Elysian Grove. A bunch of things.
Yeah, there's a lot of. Oh yeah, burgeoning is always expensive. Yeah, but like a lot of the really good ones, like your Scoot Swarm, it costs nothing, $4. You know, a Royal Elemental's a little pricey, but like you want a Royal Elemental if you can get a Royal Elemental.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's such a cool card. Yeah, no, I really like this. I think it's like a fairly accessible like landfall deck too, and I think that Nine-Fingers Keene brings something to the table that was kind of missing in like a 3 colors gate thing, right? Like you can still do fun things. My version of this before Nine-Fingers Keene was with the turtle Arkelos, so that I could like just constantly have my gates untapped.
Yeah.
But I think Nine-Fingers Keene is the better, like just that ability to filter so aggressively through your deck, and possibly because again, even if somebody does manage to get rid of Maze's End, the fact that you can still, like, every time you hit with your commander, basically pick up 9 cards. 9 cards is a lot. Like,
yeah, 9. That's almost 10% of the deck.
Well, and 9 cards when you have like non-stop mana, like when you've got crazy mana, 9 cards is a problem.
Mm-hmm.
A very very big problem. Yeah, no, I really really like this deck. Like I think it's fun. I think it's got a lot of like cool stuff that you can do with it. I think landfall decks are all really customizable with what you want to do, more or less lands. Like some people, I know a lot of people run like 40 lands in a landfall deck. That to me is crazy, blasphemy, but
that's a lot of lands.
Yeah, it's a lot of lands, but no, I think that this is like a really really cool deck. Like it seems really fun.
Thank you.
Yeah, I love killing people with lands or killing people's lands. No, this is a great deck, and like I really do think that people should build more landfall decks. I think it's cool that you built something like out of your normal wheelhouse for sure.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah. Have you got to test it out yet, or just?
No, not yet.
Yeah.
But
hopefully you get some games in with this one. This one, like I said, it looks really really fun.
Yeah, I'm quite excited to get out and play with this one.
Yeah. For everyone else, like, what is the we'll end there, but what does everyone else like? What do you guys include landfall wise? Like, what are we missing? What, if anything, like, what other landfall stuff would you put in? Do you like the gates mechanic? Again, thanks so much for listening. If you get a chance to stop in and rate us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, definitely do that. I would enjoy that. Everyone would enjoy that here. It lets us do more. It lets us get found more. Thanks everyone so much for listening all the time. And yeah, thanks for being here to talk decks with us every week. I love talking Magic. So thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
But for real, gates are great. Okay, bye everyone.